Recorded Books and RB Digital present Never Stop Learning. Stay relevant, reinvent yourself, and thrive. By Bradley R. Staats. Narrated by Graham Winton. Chapter 1. Becoming a Dynamic Learner. A quote from Otto Rank. Whatever we achieve inwardly will change outer reality. My paternal grandfather, Preston William Staats Sr., grew up in New Braunfels, Texas, where his father owned the Candy Kitchen, a small store that sold sweets and soft drinks. Recognizing a growth opportunity when he saw one, my great-grandfather, Preston Sr.'s father, had secured Coca-Cola bottling rights for the region. Preston Sr. worked at the plant as a child and then, when the time was right, headed 45 miles up the road to Austin to attend the University of Texas. After college, he returned to New Braunfels to run the Coke plant. My maternal grandfather, Brooks Wolford, grew up in Houston, where he worked as a credit manager for most of his adult life. My grandfathers lived outside their respective hometowns only while they served in World War II. Contrast their experience with that of their two grandchildren, my brother Trent and me. We grew up in Austin, and we both went to the University of Texas at Austin for our undergraduate degrees. Hook 'em horns. Trent stayed on to get his PhD in engineering and then started a company that enabled real-time monitoring of power transmission lines for electricity traders. After he sold the company, he headed to Harvard Business School to get an MBA. He stayed in Boston for the next 10 years, working at startups in biotechnology, biofuels, and chemical waste reclamation. After I graduated from UT Austin, I went to work in investment banking at Goldman Sachs, first in New York and then in Houston. I moved to Boston to get my own MBA at Harvard Business School, HBS, and then I worked at Dell Computer in Austin, doing strategic planning, and at a venture capital firm in Tampa that focused primarily on technology and healthcare services. I headed back to Boston to get a doctorate at HBS and moved to Chapel Hill as a professor at the University of North Carolina's Keenan-Flagler Business School, where I've been ever since, with the exception of a year as a visiting professor at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School in Philadelphia. The contrast between our grandfather's experience and Trent's and mine is not atypical. Careers today usually involve multiple employers and often multiple industries. Data that tracks individuals over time is sparse, but a Bureau of Labor Statistics report that followed workers aged 18 to 48 over the years 1978 to 2012 found that on average, workers held 12 different jobs. At the end of that period, only 3.3% were holding the same job they'd held from age 25 to 29, and only 5.4% were holding the same job they'd held from age 30 to 34. For most people, the only constant is change. To succeed in this new environment requires continual learning, how to do existing tasks better and how to do entirely new things. If we fail to learn, we risk becoming irrelevant. We end up solving yesterday's problems too late instead of tackling tomorrow's problems before someone else does. But we're bad at learning, supremely bad. In fact, we're our own worst enemies. Instead of doing the things that will help us learn, we often do just the opposite. We're unwilling to take risks that might lead to failure. We obsess about outcomes while neglecting to examine carefully the process through which we achieve them. We rush to answers instead of asking questions. We want to be seen doing something, anything, so we don't step back to recharge and reflect. We follow the path that others have beaten rather than forge one of our own. We look to fix irrelevant weaknesses instead of playing to our strengths. We focus narrowly rather than draw on broad experience. We treat learning as an individual exercise and neglect the important role played by others. That's why I've written Never Stop Learning, to help you learn how to learn. It presents a framework for staying relevant in a world of continual change. I'll detail the processes you need to follow to become a dynamic learner and explain the behavioral science that shows why we fail to do what we need to do. I'll also offer practical, proven strategies for overcoming the challenges. You may be your own worst enemy, but you are the one person over whom.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.